A leader doesn't command you, it doesn't order you around. A leader guides.
The discussions on the Whatever podcast often swing from stupid to ridiculous.
Do you want the truth?
Yeah.
Do not marry this girl.
Yeah.
I find it ridiculous when people ask strangers for relationship advice. Are there no responsible elderly figures in your life whom God has blessed with good sense?
Why don't you want to get married?
Just foundationally, I don't think it's the most important thing.
As many of you already know, I got married not too long ago. Anyone can set himself apart. So my wife compiled a few clips she saw online and said she wanted me to react to them on my YouTube channel. And I couldn't say no. I tried, but I couldn't. So here goes nothing.
The question is, who is the primary victim of war, men or women?
It's the men.
Who's the primary victim of World War I for you?
I guess, yeah, I would still say to women.
What about World War II?
Woman.
Vietnam?
I would just say women all around.
The Ukraine War?
Yeah.
Stop right there. Just stop. That's a stupid question. Why is it relevant? What's the point? What do you achieve if you are able to show that men or women are the primary victims of war? What do you mean by primary victims? Is it the first group to suffer from war, or those who are most impacted by the bad consequences of war? I know the men would insist that they are the primary victims of war because they get to fight or be drafted. We are often the first target of the enemy army. But does that make us the primary victims? Civilians get targeted too. In many instances, they have become primary targets, especially in wars with genocidal motivation. In such cases, civilians die more than men in uniform. The Rwanda, Sudan, and Yemen wars are good examples of this. If you choose to answer this question and pick a gender, male or female, can you make a good case for it? The only thing you may succeed in doing is downplaying the real suffering of either men or women, depending on the gender you choose. How does that help foster the relationship between men and women? You are only widening the huge gap that already plagued the male-female relationship dynamic in developed countries. Nothing good comes out of putting your suffering on a scale and weighing how much more you suffer compared to the other person. You end up becoming sad, disgruntled, and resentful. Yet it is likely to turn out that you are using a false scale. It suffices to say that anyone in a conflict region is the victim of the conflict. The primary victims are those who end up dead, whether soldier or civilian, child or adult, big or small, man or woman. To go beyond this is a grave sin against humanity. And as the one true Pope, I declare to those who perpetrate such thoughts, anathema.
I had a question. My girlfriend and I have differing political beliefs. We voted differently. We're both Christians. We have a lot of the same beliefs about how humans should be treated, abortion, that type of thing. So how should we handle our relationship when we have a lot of the same values but differing political beliefs?
I find it ridiculous when people ask strangers for relationship advice. I mean, why would you do that? Are there no responsible elderly figures in your life whom God has blessed with good sense? Don't you have a father, an uncle, a pastor, a priest? None? What kind of life are you living when the person you seek specific relationship advice from is a political pundit?
Build a life with someone where you have agreement on the macro issues.
He could give you general advice, but for specific situations like yours, meet someone who knows you and your girlfriend well. It is not wise to be in a relationship leading to marriage without having someone who knows you and your spouse on a deep level, mentoring and advising both of you on your relationship path. That's a recipe for disaster. That's how you end up on Turning Point's YouTube channel with your private life open to public scrutiny.
Do you want the truth?
Yeah.
Do not marry this girl.
Yeah.
He told you that based on your 1-minute summary of your relationship. He doesn't know the whole story. He probably gave you bad advice and has sown the seed of an unnecessary breakup. And that's on you. But it's probably for the best. Having wise counselors may be a more pressing need for you than getting married. I suggest you join a good church and become accountable to your pastor or priest. We all need close spiritual guidance. A famous podcaster you admire is not a substitute for that. Even Jordan Peterson, with all his wisdom, is still a stranger whom you shouldn't approach after his conference or during his Q&A to ask if your girlfriend is too much of a liberal to be your wife.
Y'all want a guy who's a leader, but you're not prepared to be followers. So stop demanding leaders if you're not prepared to follow.
A leader doesn't command you, it doesn't order you around. A leader guides, it doesn't order you. There's a difference.
That's a guidance counselor. That's not a leader.
He's paying all of her bills and doing all that for her. He's providing everything, right?
If he is, what does he get in return?
I'm fine with doing certain things for a guy when he is doing a lot for me as well and showing that he cares.
The discussions on the Whatever podcast often swing from stupid to ridiculous. I mean, those who fanatically watch every episode shall not inherit the kingdom of God according to my gospel. Or maybe people watch it for the entertaining value of watching blind people trying to convince one another that they haven't ended up in a ditch. A good sign of a tyrant is constantly demanding submission. The problem may lie with you. Why do you keep meeting women who can't submit? Or why are all your dates unwilling to submit to you? A wise person will check for the log in his own eyes before venturing to remove the speck in someone else's eyes. And a great way to attract a submissive spouse is to become a man worth submitting to. Jesus only asked his disciples to follow him once. When they saw the kind of man he was, they wouldn't leave him until they saw Roman guards dragging him to his crucifixion. Are you that kind of man? Or do you aspire to be the Abba Sadiq of your household?
I am that person that they are obliged to follow.
By the way, submission is not a commodity a man buys by paying rent and putting food on the table. A marriage is not a supermarket transaction. It's a relationship built on love, trust, and understanding. These are precious things money can't buy. You can't build trust on the weight of your pocket. It requires the strength of your character. An unreliable, dishonest, immoral, and inconsiderate man will have a hard time getting any woman, even his daughter, to submit to him. Talk more of the woman who sees his nakedness every night. The only way such a man can get submission from his wife is by becoming a despotic narcissist who resorts to threats, violence, and force. That doesn't mean a good man with strong character will automatically have a submissive wife. Life is sadly not that simple, and human nature is prone to rebellion. The Bible will not have made it a command if it were that easy to submit. But when a man's way pleases the Lord, he will make even his enemies to be at peace with him. So be the man God has called you to be. Let your way be pleasing in his sight, and even a stubborn wife will find herself submitting to the power of your love.
You don't want to get married. Why don't we start with you? Why don't you want to get married?
For me, it's just the foundation of marriage is a religious one, and I'm not a particularly religious person. And as far as where religion or marriage applies today, it's pretty symbolic. It's a piece of paper and a trip to the courthouse, and I don't find it necessary. It may become necessary in life for taxes and healthcare and dealing with children and properties, but just foundationally, I don't think it's the most important thing. Real commitment comes from that relationship that you share with your partner, kids, communication, and what you've both decided is real. That piece of paper doesn't really do much.
The religious foundation she's referring to is Genesis 2 verse 18. It is not good for the man to be alone. I'm sure she doesn't know that's what it is because, as she said, she isn't particularly religious. But we can all see that you don't have to be religious to accept the truth of that statement. Everyone agrees that marriage is for companionship. But Genesis 2 verse 18 is not just about companionship. It is also about community. Without the company of marriage, no community on earth would exist. There is a symbiotic relationship between marriage and society. Society protects the sanctity of marriage, and marriage ensures the posterity of society. Marriage is not just a commitment to your spouse, it is a commitment to your community. It is bigger than the man and his wife. That's why traditional societies make it difficult for couples to separate. They maintain a stigma around divorced and unfaithful spouses. They will try to resolve your marital disputes and ensure that you and your spouse treat each other fairly. They do the best that they can to make your marriage work. They even keep an eye on your children for you. That's why we say it takes a village to raise a family. In the community I belong to, that statement is true. But in the West, where individualism is the order of the day, nobody sends you. Do whatever you like. It's a free world, right? There, it is nobody's business if your marriage succeeds or fails. Do to your spouse whatever they consent to. And as long as it is not a crime, you can raise your children however you deem fit. So why won't marriage be a meaningless trip to the court? That's what happens when you want to build companionship in isolation. A marital commitment is void without community involvement. As many of you already know, I got married not too long ago. My marriage isn't just between me and my wife. It is between my family and hers, my community and hers. This mindset is going extinct in the West, but anyone can set himself apart. You can be in the Western world, but you don't have to be of that world. The way forward will be to submit your life to the power that can keep you from the evil of the world and engraft you into the community of saints.